Ever feel like you're juggling chainsaws? Trying to keep the kids happy, the house running, and your spouse, well, not feeling completely neglected.
Yeah, it's a constant balancing act, isn't it?
Totally. And today we're taking a deep dive into a guide that tackles this very thing: how to prioritize both your kids and your marriage.
It's a tricky topic, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So this guide we're looking at, it dives into how family dynamics have changed so much, even just in the last few decades.
It really highlights this push and pull between traditional roles and the reality of how we're raising families today. Like, what even are the rules anymore?
Right, exactly. It's like the rule book's been tossed out the window.
Hmm.
And this guide, it really emphasizes that having a strong marriage isn't just about the couple being happy.
It's really about the foundation of the whole family unit.
Okay, so it's like by focusing on the marriage, on keeping that strong, you're actually setting the kids up for success too.
Precisely. Like, think about it. When your kids see you in a loving, respectful relationship, it gives them this sense of security.
Makes sense.
And they're less anxious. They learn how to communicate without, blowing up every 5 seconds. And they actually learn how to build healthy relationships.
So instead of kids come first all the time, we should be showing them what a good partnership looks like.
Exactly. And it's not just a nice idea. There's actual research backing this up. Kids of parents in solid marriages, they tend to be more resilient, they handle conflicts better, and get this, they even do better in school.
Wow. Okay, so it really does make a difference.
Big time.
But, it's so easy to let things slip when you're in the thick of it all.
Oh, I know.
In fact, this guide mentions a couple who, despite their best intentions, totally fell into that trap.
Uh-oh.
The wife ended up feeling totally ignored, and the husband thought he was doing the right thing, focusing on the kids.
Oh, yeah. Classic example of how things can get out of whack. And that's where the resentment builds up.
And that impacts everyone, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It affects communication, stresses everyone out, and honestly, makes it way harder to be a good parent.
So even if you're trying your best, if one spouse is constantly getting their needs pushed aside, it really messes things up for the whole family.
100%. And the guide goes even further. It says that over-prioritizing the kids can actually hurt them in the long run.
Really?
Yeah, catering to their every whim can make them, well, a little entitled.
I see.
And it stops them from learning important stuff like being independent, bouncing back from setbacks, figuring things out on their own.
So by trying to smooth out every little bump in the road, we're actually doing them a disservice.
Exactly. Letting them face challenges, make some age-appropriate decisions. It helps them grow into more capable people.
This is making me think, do I let the kids' needs take over too often? When was the last time my partner and I really connected, just the two of us?
That's the question, isn't it? The guide really encourages us to be honest with ourselves and see if things are a little unbalanced. And that's where this guide gets really helpful. It actually gives some practical advice for, getting things back on track.
Okay, yeah, because honestly, some days it feels like I'm barely keeping my head above water with all the kid stuff, the house stuff. Finding time to reconnect with my spouse,
Yeah.
forget about it.
Oh, tell me about it. But that's where being intentional comes in, even when it feels impossible. And this guide, it really stresses that communication is like the key. Why?
Yeah, communication, sure. Easier said than done, right?
Well, it starts with making time for each other, even if it's just 15 minutes after the kids are asleep.
Okay.
Phones away, laptops closed. Really listen to each other.
So we're not just talking about, like, who's picking up the dry cleaning.
No. This is about really connecting. Sharing what's going on in your head, your hopes, your frustrations. Remember what it was like to actually talk before the kids came along.
Those were the days. What about date nights? I mean, everyone says that's the big secret, but seriously, who has the time or energy?
I hear you, but it doesn't have to be some big fancy night out.
Right.
Maybe it's just a picnic in the park, a walk after dinner, even just watching a movie together after the kids are in bed.
So just making the effort, even when it's tough.
Exactly. And the guide also talks about setting boundaries with the kids.
Boundaries, yeah.
Maybe you have couple time where they know not to interrupt. Or you're really clear about bedtime routines so you can actually have an adult conversation.
Sometimes it feels like my kids are running the show, and my spouse and I are just like the supporting cast.
It's about taking back some space for your relationship, letting it breathe a little.
Yeah.
And it's not about being mean to the kids or ignoring them.
Right.
It's about teaching them that mom and dad need time together, too. And that's a good thing.
It's like we're modeling healthy boundaries for them.
Exactly. Speaking of modeling, the guide also makes a big point about presenting a united front as parents.
Oh, yeah, being on the same page. That makes sense.
When you and your spouse are in sync, it creates consistency for the kids. And it's good for them. They feel more secure.
Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. But let's be real, we're not going to agree on everything.
Of course not.
So how do you handle those disagreements without it turning into, like, a big fight in front of the kids?
Choose your battles
Okay.
and try to talk it out beforehand. If you do disagree, save the discussion for later. When the kids aren't around, remember, you're showing them how to handle conflict in a healthy way.
Right, right. So it's not just about US, it's about what they're learning from us.
Exactly. Now, the guide shares this really great story about a couple who turned things around.
Okay, I love a good turnaround story.
They started with regular date nights, even if it was just takeout and a movie on the couch.
Makes sense.
And they made an effort to tell each other what they appreciated.
Simple but powerful, right?
Exactly. And it made a huge difference for them. It really shifted the dynamic.
Okay, so it's not about these huge grand gestures, it's those little things
Yeah.
consistently.
It's like anything worthwhile, right? It takes effort, there are ups and downs, but as long as you're talking to each other, prioritizing that connection, you'll be okay.
It's encouraging to hear that because life with kids, it's messy.
It is.
But to know that we can still have a great marriage in the middle of all that, that's kind of awesome.
It is, and it's something worth fighting for because it really does benefit everyone.
Okay, so kids grow up, they leave the nest. It's not just about the now, it's about building something that lasts, right?
Absolutely. It's about having a foundation that will still be there, even when the kids are gone.
So this is all great, but I'm curious about those exercises you mentioned earlier, the ones from the guide. Like, how can our listeners actually put this into practice?
Well, the guide talks about these really simple but powerful rituals you can do every day to stay connected.
Rituals. I love rituals. I'm all about routines, especially when things feel crazy.
They can be so grounding.
Oh,
So one idea is to have a morning coffee ritual where you actually sit down together and talk, not just stare at your phones.
yeah.
Or maybe it's just taking 15 minutes each night to check in with each other, see how the day went.
So it's about having those little moments throughout the day, those touch points that keep you connected.
Exactly. The guide also talks about setting goals as a family and as a couple.
Goals are great. It's motivating to have something to work towards,
They give you a sense of purpose.
for sure. But how do you balance family goals with couple goals?
Well, maybe you plan a family vacation together
Okay.
or work on a home improvement project. It's about finding something you're both passionate about and doing it as a team.
So you're aligning your hopes for the future as a couple A and D as a family.
Exactly. And don't forget, the kids don't have to be left out of this.
Oh, that's interesting. I was just thinking about that. Like, should we be protecting them from the grown-up stuff, or is there a way to involve them?
The guide actually recommends involving them in an age-appropriate way, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe you just explain why mom and dad are going on a date. Reassure them that you'll be back soon. Or maybe you include them in planning a family activity.
So you're being open with them, but not overwhelming them.
Exactly. And by including them in these conversations, you're teaching them valuable lessons about relationships.
That's a great point. We're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk. They see what a healthy relationship looks like.
Exactly. And, for those listeners who are religious, the guide also talks about the importance of faith.
Oh, yeah, faith can be such a source of strength.
It suggests that prayer can be really powerful for couples, especially when they're facing challenges.
It's like finding comfort and guidance in something bigger than yourselves.
Exactly. It's about finding renewal and strength in your shared faith.
This has been so eye-opening. It's so easy to get caught up in all the parenting demands that we forget about that core relationship, the one with our spouse.
It happens to the best of us.
But it's great to know that with a little effort and some awareness, we can actually create a more balanced, happier family life.
Absolutely. And the benefits are huge, not just for you and your spouse, but for the whole family.
So, wow, we covered a lot of ground here. We talked about how focusing too much on the kids can lead to resentment, dependency, you name it. It really strains the whole family.
Yeah, and it's not like it's intentional, right? Most parents, we're just trying to do our best.
Exactly. But we also talked about all the amazing benefits of keeping that marriage strong.
It's not just about being happy as a couple, it's about laying the groundwork for a healthy, happy family.
It's about giving the kids stability, showing them how to handle conflict, and setting them up for success in their own relationships down the road.
It's like giving them a head start in life just by having a good relationship ourselves.
Okay, but for that listener out there, the one who's feeling that tug of war between the kids and their spouse, what's one thing they can do, like today, to start tipping the scales back towards balance?
I'd say start small. Tonight, after the kids are asleep, put away all the distractions.
Okay.
The phones, the laptops, the TV, everything. Just sit down with your partner and have a conversation.
No to-do list, no talking about schedules, just connect.
Exactly. Ask each other, what do you need from me right now?
I like that.
Might be a hug. It might be someone to just listen. Maybe they just need to vent about their day for 5 minutes.
Just that little bit of reconnection can make a big difference, right?
Huge. And remember, this isn't about being the perfect parent or having the perfect marriage.
Right.
It's about taking steps in the right direction. Prioritizing your relationship makes the whole family stronger.
A win-win for everyone. So to all the parents out there juggling everything, remember this. A happy marriage, it's not a luxury, it's an investment. An investment in the happiness and well-being of your whole family. And that is definitely something worth working for.